Oh, I forgot to do something. Oh, I forgot to do a big something.
Ooh. Ooh.
Stand by. Okay, now I'm ready. Such a Monday. Thanks for being with us on this 14th day of August. We are live to the KGNS app, live to the website at kgns.tv. We're also live to our Facebook page and our YouTube page as well. If you're not familiar with the KGNS YouTube channel, I invite you to subscribe. At some point, I will no longer be streaming to Facebook. We'll only be streaming to the website, the app, and the YouTube channel. We're trying to get our subscribers up because we just have not just recently launched it, but we've been using it for adding more material to that platform. So just a heads up, if you're watching on Facebook, we will be eventually moving over to YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you much for subscribing. Okay, we have a Laredo legend in the house this morning. He has been in radio for the last 31 years. He tells me more than 2 decades of waking people up in the morning, though. He is my longtime friend, Sammy the House Ramirez.
You are way too nice and way too generous with your words. Thank you.
Sam, 31 years in radio, goodness gracious.
Yeah.
A lot of people have asked me, how did Sammy get started, or when did he get started?
1992. It's always a long story, and it's funny. Every time I'm on a podcast or I'm on an interview, everyone's like, how did you get started? Because according to people, they're like, man, I just was born and you were there. Yeah, like I've had that phrase, like, hey, I was born and you were there. And like, you're still there. Like, yeah, you've been there. I was, oh my God, it's because I'm watching it over here. My dad, and I'm blessed to say that my dad, may he rest in peace, he knew somebody at a radio station, and he had just introduced me to this man. And Mr. Frank Moe, may he rest in peace. And he introduced me to this man, and summer was about to start, and my dad just said, hey, tell him that you're available. And so he introduces me to this man, and
How old were you?
I was 12.
Oh, my
I was like, no, actually I was 11 at the time. And he introduces me to this man, and he didn't tell him my age. And I've always been a big guy, right? I've always looked older than what I am. And so he says he does impressions of DJs. He could do a DJ voice, is what he said. And so I would always mimic the old Tejano baile, commercials.
Yeah.
So I started doing it for this man, and he's like, "That's really good," and I'm like, "Thanks." And so my dad just said, "You know what? Keep calling, keep bugging them." And best advice I've ever gotten, he says, "No le dan el jale al que no lo quiere." And so my dad said, "Keep showing interest," and I did, and I kept on bugging and bugging. At the time, I had to call him Mad Dog. Mad Dog Mark McLean is what he was known. Now Alex Valadez. And he said, "Call Mad Dog. Tell him that you want the job." So I would call Mad Dog every week. And my dad wouldn't let me. He wouldn't let me do anything else until I showed interest. So he goes, if you want to go to the mall this weekend, you want to go hang out with your friends, you want to go play video games or whatever, you have to do that first. And so he wouldn't let me do it until I called and showed interest. And it was embarrassing to me. I felt, like, my God, I'm bugging this man. And my dad says, if you don't bug him, you don't do anything else. So I would bug him and bug him and bug him until one weekend he called me and he's like, "Hey, you still want that job?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah."
So bugged you about it for the last how many months?
Yeah.
So, but did you have an interest in radio?
I did.
I mean, were you generally interested in radio? Did you like music? What was it that you liked about the business?
So I've always liked music. I come from from what I've been told, I come from a musical family. My grandfather played trumpet. I believe some of my uncles were also in the Navy, and they would play in big jazz bands and stuff. So supposedly music is in my blood, in the caballero side of my family. I'm a caballero, and so in the caballero side of my family, a very musical family. And I've always liked music. I've always understood music. I've hung out with musicians. I understand the science of music, right? But I've never been able to play, but I've always liked it. So, one day my dad was, he made friends with all the DJs.
Yeah.
And so Magic Reina, may he rest in peace. My dad went to go visit Magic because Magic said, "Why don't you come by?" Because Magic wanted something to drink and a snack, right? So he's like, "Come on by, bring me a snack, and bring the kids." And so I was with him, and so I got to hang out with Magic Reina in the old Z93 building downtown. And Magic turns on the microphone, and Magic's beautiful, loud voice comes out booming, talking about the dance this weekend. And then as soon as he turns off that microphone, you hear the accordions blasting on amazing speakers, the best speakers I had ever heard in my life. So I'm just like listening to music and listening to this chubby man, this chubby guy talking, like so cool. And I was like, this is cool, Dad. Like, this is really cool. And so...
You were 11 or 12 at the time?
At that point, maybe I was about to be 11 or 11. Yeah, and I just remember Magic doing his thing. Magic had an amazing voice also, and he was a big chubby man. I'm like, that chubby guy is doing something cool. I'm a chubby guy. I want to do something cool too. So,
Fun fact, I was trained by Magic as well at the very beginning.
Really? Magic never trained me. Yeah, Magic never trained me.
Yeah, like I was introduced to the profession through Magic. Somebody, just like you, an uncle of mine was friends, and so I went to Z93 back in the day when it was in that building downtown, and Magic showed me how to cue up the records and all that stuff. We're talking to Sammy the House Ramirez this morning. Now tomorrow, UISD goes back to school, and I want to transition to that, Sam, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. Well, no, I'm not going to get you in trouble.
Too late. I already got myself in trouble. Yeah.
But I do want to bring up, for more than 2 decades, as I mentioned, you've actually been waking people up through a morning show. You've been doing morning shows. So you've been in radio for 31 years. Yeah. But mornings, you were telling me that you figured it's been more than 2 decades. And tomorrow LISD is back already, the Catholic schools. But tomorrow, UISD goes back, and it's kind of your thing for more than 2 decades. You've been waking people up.
It's to put it in perspective. I have not slept in more than a month in the past 31 years. So I'm normally up around 4 in the morning, 4:30, 5 in the morning. I know you guys get up a lot earlier, but I'll get up at 4:30, 5 a.m. And people don't understand that this is just what I do. Like I identify with, I don't know. Hold on, what I'm about to say this. I identify with farmers and ranchers because they get up early and their day is done early, which is a beautiful thing. I don't work as hard as farmers and ranchers, but I get up early and I know what it's like to be up before the sun, and I know what it's like to be done with your day before sunset, and it's pretty great.
Did you get thrust into morning radio, or did you seek that? Do you remember?
I remember the first time they just kind of gave it to me. Yeah. Right? It was our friend Luis. Luis says, Mr. Luis Villarreal from KGNS. Hi, Luis. How are you? He's like, hey, you know what? So and so doesn't want to do it anymore, so we're just gonna put you to do it, right? And that's what it sounds bad, but it's not. It wasn't bad. It's just more like you do it, and I'm like, I've never done that. Like I've never done that. They're like, it's okay. We're gonna give you some cool stuff that's got prep, and you just do this, and do this, and I'm like, okay. So I did, and then all of a sudden I would get phone calls and I would get people checking in, and then it just started becoming, I've always been blessed to have bosses that allow me to be creative. And my form of creative to me seems more lazy to me, but the things that I do naturally in a lazy way become very funny and creative to other people. So Luis, thank you, Luis, I love you. He allowed me to be funny and creative, and it was just cool. It became a morning thing. I didn't do traditional morning radio like other guys would, and especially because morning radio used to be a bunch of people in a room, doing a bunch of stuff. And sound effects and producers and weather people and news people, and it was just me by myself. And they're like, just do this and play this, and I'm like, okay, but I kind of felt bad just doing the bare minimum, so I would start to do other stuff, and that's when Luis and everybody else would get happy, and they're like, "Good job," and I was excited about that. Plus, other people give you attention, and for some odd reason, people in media love attention.
It's weird.
Weird, right? Weird.
When did you realize? Yeah, I like this morning gig. When did it hit you? Right away, or did it take you some time?
The first couple of months, I was like, "This is. I don't know why I'm here, right?" Mm-hmm. I was tired. I was very tired because I wouldn't wake up that early, and then I guess maybe a couple of months into it, where like you start getting phone calls. This is why we love people that watch and follow and listen, and all these likes and comments that we get, because you're in a room by yourself. We're in a room right now by ourselves, right? We know people are watching, and everyone out there that's watching is watching, but we don't hear from you guys. And so all of a sudden, people start to call, people start to text, people start to like the posts or comment, and they start telling you, hey, that was awesome, or that was so funny, or you made my day. And when that started happening, I started thinking like, well, hey, that's pretty good, like it was a little affirmation, it was validation. Like, so I guess a couple of months into it, you start getting validated, and people just start stroking your ego. And don't get it twisted, everybody. We have egos, and when we can use what we do, and people like what we do, it just feels good. So that's why I kept on doing it.
Sammy the House Ramirez is joining us this morning. He's been in radio here in Laredo for the last 31 years. More than 2 decades of waking people up in the morning. And you've grown up with, or not, you haven't grown up with other people. Other people have grown up with you.
I've grown up with them too. I really have. Like I was, me. When I was young, Sammy, and you were my boss for a while.
I'll deny that to my dad.
Yeah. I was a very different person back then than I am now. And, I used to idolize Howard Stern. I used to think like, I want to be just like Howard Stern, but Howard Stern isn't even like Howard Stern anymore. People grow. So yeah, I've grown.
Oh, but you've had, and you've had
in kids. So many ways.
Yeah. But you had, literally generations of kids waking up with you, and I know that I've seen you take pictures with anybody and everybody who comes up to you. I've seen you with, and you will say, "Oh, this person used to listen when they were in first grade, and now they're grown up." I mean, how does that feel?
Okay, so part of it. Okay, I'm glad you asked that question. Part of it makes you feel really old.
Yeah, I know.
Like it makes you feel really, really old, and I'm not. I just turned 45. Like I'm not old. If anybody out there's 45, you're not old. You're not old. But it makes you feel old because again, I started when I was 11, 12 years old. So you feel this. I'll give you a perfect example. I was in Nuevo Laredo one night, hanging out with some friends, and we were having tequila, like you do in Nuevo Laredo, right? Yeah. And this is a strange story, which is weird that I'm telling you this, but I'm hanging out, and these are friends of mine, and we're all hanging out, and it's this girl and another girl, and she goes, "Man, you crowned me homecoming queen," and I said, "Wow." I'm hanging out, drinking with friends, but I knew them. And I said, so weird that I knew you in high school. She says, no, 8th grade homecoming queen. I said, whoa, wait a minute. She was already of age at that point. Yeah. But you hear that stuff, right? You hear that stuff. And then another guy came up to me the other day, and he's like, man, you got my mom through some stuff. And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, well, he tells me about how his parents were going through a divorce, right? And I said, how old were you? He says, I was 10. I was 10, and this is a guy that's hanging out with me at a bar that I work at. And he's like, I just need to tell you that, And so you hear these things, and number one, it makes you feel old, but number two, it makes you feel like, how everybody wants to be a part of something?
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you were a part of something, right? Like,
well, they were a part of you.
Yeah, but it's just, to know that somebody felt better because of something you did. Yeah. You know, people every day, they're like, well, what am I doing with my life? And people think this all the time. Like, this is what causes anxiety in everybody. Like, what are we doing with our lives and how am I changing the world? When you hear that, when you get that validation, when someone tells you, I grew up with you, you made my mom smile, stuff like that, like, it lets you know, like, you've done something. Yeah.
Part of what you do is you go to the schools and you were at pep rallies. They invite you frequently to a lot of the pep rallies. You're a regular at some of the schools. You do career days. You do star when they have those star rallies. All those kinds of things, Sam. At what point did you realize, you know what? Because I know that you fashion yourself a motivational speaker as well. When did you realize that you were a motivational speaker?
Before I answer that question, I want to say hi to Allie, who's listening. Allie, or watching.
This is your radio show, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I have to. My wife is watching. I want to say hi to my wife. Hi, babe. Love you. Ay, cositas de quiero. Bob and Cassandra. Hi, Cassandra. How are you? We know Miss Cassandra Bailey. Yes, we do. Hi, Cassandra. How are you? Sandra, what's up? At what point? The question is, at what point did I?
When did you realize, hey, I'm a good motivational speaker too? When did you add that to your resume?
I did. It was added for me, I guess. Like, people were like, you. Again,
you think you motivate people?
I do. All these questions you're asking me are making me look very egocentric, and I feel bad about it, but people kept telling me, like, hey man, like, the kids love it when you come, you know. And the other day I went to the convocation at UISD, and you know, that was one of the biggest pep rallies I've ever done in my life. And like, the teachers were like, man, the teachers needed it. You were so great. They were so excited to hear from you. And like, it just, you know, you don't add it, like, it just gets added for you, you know. Like, you can't just say one day, like, oh, I'm a motivational speaker, which I've seen some people do, right? They're like, oh, I'm a motivational speaker now. And it's like, you never
really declared it yourself, like, oh, I am officially now a motivational speaker.
Yeah, I didn't just say, hey, this is what I'm going to do now. Yeah. It's just, you know, people tell you. And, you know, you don't just assume the position. It's given to you. You can't just give yourself a nickname, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of, how did you become Sammy the House?
Oh, that's a funny story. I will tell you this. Okay, I'll make this one brief. I'm so sorry for hitting your desk. Okay. A friend of mine used to, he's an artist, and he wanted to get one of my caps that I used to wear. And it was an old cap from South Texas National Bank
how long ago was this?
This was 90, 89, 90.
So that's when you got your name.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, 89, 90. And no, maybe whenever the time that Police Academy 3 came out, whatever that is.
I'll Google that real quick.
Yeah, Police Academy 3, look for Citizens on Patrol, and that will tell you when it happened. That will give you the year that it happened.
Okay.
1986.
Yeah.
So Citizens on Patrol's been out for a while, and my friend wants to get my South Texas National Bank cap, and he wants to airbrush it, but he has no airbrushes. He says, I can do this with markers. I can make it look like I airbrushed it with markers. I said, okay, great. He's like, what do you want me to put on your cap? And I said, put Sammy. He goes, no, let's not put Sammy. He wanted to mess with me, and he wanted to joke around with me. He goes, why don't we put House on it? House is one of the characters from Police Academy 3, Citizens on Patrol.
Okay, so I got to stop you real quick, because Police Academy 4 was Citizens on Patrol.
Okay, well then it's the Citizens.
That was 1987.
Okay, well,
the other one that I looked up was number 3. That was 86. So it was number 4.
It was number 4.
There was a character named House.
House. They called him House. Okay. Big black guy, and he would ride around on a motor scooter, and his name was House. And so my friend wanted to joke around and call me House after the big black guy that would ride around on a scooter, because I used to ride around my neighborhood on a scooter. But not a motor scooter, just a regular scooter. And I always wanted a motor scooter, so my friend says, I'm gonna put House on this thing. So I would wear this cap everywhere because I thought it looked really, really cool. Little did I know it was an inside joke, and he was calling me the fat guy from Police Academy.
Seen the show,
I had seen it, but I knew what he was trying to do. But I took it, and I said, this is a cool cap, I'm gonna wear it. And nobody else knew what he was doing, right? So nobody else was in on his joke except him. So everyone would see me, and they're like, hey, ¿qué onda, House? Like, they would see it on my hats. And so they're like, hey, it's this. And then other people just started meeting me, and they're like, have you met this guy, the House, El House? And
as long as I've known you, Sam, I never knew this. I thought it was, for some reason, I thought it was I thought it was for some other.
No,
I'm trying
no.
to find. Apparently, Tab Thacker is the actor.
May he rest in peace. He passed away.
Tab Thacker. He was actually a wrestler too. So there he is with Johnny Carson.
If I'm not mistaken, he was also a football player.
He might have been.
Yeah, I think he was a football player also.
So this is just showing folks some pictures.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
So your cap said house already.
Yeah, so it said South Texas National Bank on the front. I remember it was a white cap with a baby blue bill, and the logo was like themes of baby blue. And then on the side, and I would wear my cap to the side like you would do back Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type style, and it said house on it. And then everyone just el house or the house man or the house or whatever, and then everything I started wearing, like my parents would buy me T-shirts and they would say, rock the house or something, the house. And everything that I would wear, this was the early 90s. So everything was like graffitied and airbrushed and very urban style stuff. So everything said house on it. And then I remember even once I had we remember the steel plated caps, the Janet Jackson Rhythm Nation steel plated caps. Someone found me a steel plated cap that said house on it. So I had that. I would wear that, and then I ended up getting on my old hip hop style 3-finger ring, and it said house on it, and I ran with it, and everyone's like, "Is this a house?" And it turned out to be an insult, right? It was a joke on me, but I ended up just keeping it. And then when I first started in radio, they're like, "What do you want your name to be?" And I wanted to be Sam the Man. I said, "I'll be Sam the Man," and they're like. I think for like one weekend, I was Sam the Man, and they're like, "That's stupid, bro." They're like, "What do people call you?" And I'm like,
How did you not think about Sammy the House?
Well, because I wasn't the house at that point. I was just house or houseman or El House. But I didn't want to go on the radio being El House or El Houseman. Like I used to hang out with a bunch of like barrio people, and I still do, by the way. Like I'm very barrio, but it just so happens that I wasn't gonna be like, "Hey, it's El Houseman on Energy 98." You know what I mean? Like so yeah, I didn't feel like that. And they're like, "Why don't you just be Sammy the House?" And I don't know who said it. I don't know if it was Michael J or Mad Dog at the time. Just be Sammy the House. Everyone calls you the House. And I'm like, okay, well, so, yeah.
Did you at any point ever feel insulted because of the name?
No, when I first realized what he was doing, I was like, "You're stupid, man." I was real mad, but so I love you, Cesar, but I considered the source, and Cesar's from the hood, so I love you, Cesar.
Does he take credit for giving you your name?
He never tells anybody, but he's like, tell him what I did, and I'm like, I'm gonna tell him that you tried to insult me, you jerk.
Honestly, did not know that.
Yeah,
that's a good story.
Shout out to Cesar.
So, I told you the other day on your show, because you so graciously had me on your show on Friday morning. I can't think of anybody else more positive than you.
Oh, there's a lot of positive people.
No, but I mean, in my life, there's very few. Only you and Jesus Christ.
Wow, dude! Wow,
he's pretty positive.
Wow, dude! Like, dude, wow! I gotta go now, man. Like, no, I gotta go.
In all seriousness, I can try to throw some bad news at you or something, or just kind of try to throw you something, and you're like, they ain't gonna have it, Ruben. Not today, Satan. You're just a very positive person. Have you always been like that?
No. I'm actually a very negative person,
really?
But I don't like to. Here's a quote for you. There's so much negativity in the world that I don't want to add to it. There's so much negativity in the world that I don't want to be. I don't want to be the reason why someone's world gets a little darker.
When did that hit you? If you weren't always this positive and you fashioned yourself to be negative, when did you start to realize, you know what, forget this, just positivity is the way to go?
There was a time in my life, right, where I was very broken. There's been a couple of times in my life when I've been broken. So I was very sad. I was very broken. I was very alone, and I ended up I was living by myself, and I just felt like everything was horrible. Like I felt like everything was horrible until someone reached out to me, and they're like, and I would be very vocal. I was one of the first people on MySpace, and I was the first people with a lot of followers in town on MySpace. So I would go on my social media and I would just complain out loud. And even, I'm sure you remember, sometimes on the radio I would complain out loud. And I would just complain and complain and complain and complain until someone says, "Hey man, what are you complaining about?" And so I would talk about all these things that would make me mad or made me upset or that I was complaining about. And then someone reminded me that there's worse things. You know what I mean? Like, oh, my car sucks. Well, you know what? There's a guy out there that doesn't have a car. You know what I mean? There's a guy out there that's got one leg. You know, and I'm like, I don't like where I live. Well, you look at that person over there living underneath the underpass. You know, they don't got a place to live. So like, it was just a reminder that whatever I'm upset about, there's somebody out there that's got it worse. So why would I make it worse for anybody else? Like, if anything, I want to show people that they should appreciate everything that they have. So I didn't want to add to it. And someone said, if you start, and this is the greatest thing, and I hope one of you, at least one of you out there, takes this with you. If you start to appreciate things out loud, you begin to get more things, right? Like, you begin to get more to be appreciative of. Like, whether you want to call it the universe, whether you want to call it God, whether you want to call it Jesus, whatever you want to call it, when you're grateful for any little blessing that you have, you end up getting more, you know? I'll give you the example that I give everyone about the birthday party. Let's say you and I have been friends forever, right? And I keep inviting you over to my birthday party. And every time you bring me a gift, I say that the gift sucks. You know, it's not the right size. I don't like it. I wanted whiskey. You brought me tequila. I wanted a soccer ball. You brought me a basketball. I wanted a scooter. You brought me a bike. And every time I'm real vocal about it, eventually you're going to get tired of giving me gifts. You're going to be like, well, why am I even buying you any gifts, man? You know, like, you don't like it. But if every time I invite you to my birthday party and you bring me whatever you can, whatever birthday gift you want to bring me, and every time I'm like, this is the greatest gift in the world, you're never going to stop giving me gifts. You're always going to want to bring me gifts. And what's going to happen with that is that one day you're going to find the perfect gift. And I'm going to be so happy about it because I was never once upset about what you brought me. You never stopped giving me gifts.
You know what I like about the story, Sam, is, I mean, there's a lot of things to like about the story, but what I like the most is that you changed.
Oh, yeah.
And people don't realize that there's always a day that you can change. You can convert your life at any point during your life, and don't let people bring you down for what you were in the past.
Oh, yeah, no.
You know, you were what you were in the past. I can say that for sure. I was what I was in the past. I have been in the past. But there's a new day every day, and a new day for you to change your attitude, change your life. And you did that, and so that's awesome. I mean, and now you're the most positive person I know. But you're also a champion for this city, Sam.
Hold on, you could say that. This is a great time for you to say, you know what? You might have had a miracle.
Might have had a miracle, Sam.
Might have had a miracle.
I'm not talk about me. I want to talk about
guys. Ruben's looking for miracles.
I know. I want to talk about. You're a champion for the city. You're an advocate for Laredo. You don't just, I mean, aside from the radio, from everything you do with the schools and other organizations, you're a champion for the city of Laredo. Why do you feel it's so important?
I think I've heard a lot of the same thing about complaining. Yeah. I've heard a lot of people complain about the city, and people complain about the city all the time. And trust me, there's a lot of things to complain about. There is, but there's also a lot of things to be happy about and proud of. I've met a lot of people from all over the world and all over the country, and they come in here and hi. I'm not sure, someone said hi at the window, and they come here and they're like, Laredo's got some of the most beautiful women in the world, right? And then they talk about Laredo's got amazing food. Do you know that our Whataburger is better than any other Whataburger in Texas? Like, I had a food critic come down from Austin, and I told him, have a Whataburger. He goes, I can get Whataburger in Austin. I said, have a Whataburger in Laredo. And he wrote an article about it. Like, he wrote an article about it because it's true. Like, Laredo does things differently. Laredo does things with love. Laredo has a lot of talent. Laredo has a lot of cool stuff, and people are just constantly complaining about all the bad stuff, but there's bad stuff everywhere. Like, have you ever been to New York? Have you ever been to Hollywood? Hollywood smells. New York smells. Like, these cities, they have rats. They have humongous rats the size of my scooter. I could have ridden on a rat. Anyway, but yeah, these cities have so many things to complain about, but all you guys worry about is how bad Laredo is. But there's so many great things about Laredo. Why can't you see that? Like, why? It makes me mad that people can't see how great Laredo is. There's so many good things about it. Yes, there's a lot of stuff that we're lacking, you know, but there's so many things that we're not lacking. And there's Laredo's gotten Grammy winners, actors, directors, one of the best directors in the world. Alfonso Gomez Rejon. He's from Laredo. He studied with Martin Scorsese. You know what I mean? One of the coolest wrestlers who just got her very own doll, Roxanne Peña, is from Laredo. Like the WWE, Hollywood, Grupo Fantasma and Browna. Those guys are Grammy winners. They toured with Prince. They're from Laredo. Like so many great things come out of Laredo. And Laredo never stops and appreciates them. You know what I mean? You know, they're always looking for the bad stuff.
Do you own more caps or more shoes?
Wow. I'm thinking about it. I think I own more caps, but those shoes really put me out.
if you had to fathom a guess, do you know how many caps you have? Is it more than 100?
No.
Because every time I see you, you're wearing a different cap.
You're right. I am. And that's on purpose. I do that on purpose.
Well, I know, but that's why I'm saying.
Yeah.
More than 100?
That's my accessory. Not at more than 100, but we're getting there.
I would imagine you have more caps than shoes.
I do.
Because they're a lot cheaper than
Yes, they are.
I've seen the shoes that you wear.
Thank you, God.
How many pairs of shoes do you have?
I'd say at least 40.
You love sneakers, don't you?
I do, but I can't afford them like I used to.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite?
Currently, I really like what I'm wearing right now, and I'm beating them up real bad. They call those beaters. We'll give you some sneakerhead lingo. Beaters are the ones that you wear all the time, and you don't mind getting them dirty. So my beaters are my Adidas Oswegos, and they're a super comfy, simple shoe. It's a very simple colorway. I don't know if you can see those right there.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me move the camera.
Here, I'll just show you. Oh, wait, I don't know if you want to see my camera, but they're my Adidas Oswegos. They're super simple. They're a super simple colorway. They go with khakis and jeans.
So these are your beaters. Let me see if I can move the camera. There you go.
There you go.
There, you don't have to do that. Just put it back where it was, because it's actually your. There you go. So those are your beaters.
Yeah, these are my beaters.
Are you a Nike fan?
I like Nike, but Nike is not as comfortable as Adidas. Adidas is a little bit more comfortable, especially because I got a big, fat, flat foot. So Adidas kind of sort of adjusts to big guys. Yeah. Nike's usually a very tight in the toe box. There's some really comfy Nikes, but for the most part, Adidas is more comfortable. Pumas can be okay, you know, and what else do I have besides Pumas? No, I usually just stick to Pumas, Adidas, or Nike, but I have very little Pumas.
You do some work with the outlets, right?
I do. I do work with the outlet shops in Laredo.
I see you post often on your Instagram. You're on social media everywhere pretty much, right?
Under Sammy the House.
We were talking about shoes this morning, and I told somebody, I don't think I've ever spent more than, I'm more of the $69.99 variety, not the $150.
Well, my Adidas Oswegos, I hate to say to be all weird about numbers, but they're normally run between 120 and 140. I found these at $70, and I was so happy. Like every once in a while, you'll find a really good deal. I found these for $70. So yes, $69.99 is the best price for sneakers. Now most Jordans will never run you less than 120, but then so this is why you run them dead stock. Now dead stock is
we have a shoe expert here at the station. We'll go talk to him.
Yeah. So dead stock means you buy them, you leave them in the box. So you can sell those. What that is an investment. So you buy the Jordan that just got released, and then you leave it in the box. You can buy two. So there's the two. There's the one to rock, the one to stock. So you can create a beater with one, and then you stock the other one. And then when about a year, when those aren't available anymore, you bring them out and you're like, these are for sale, $500. And people will be like, I want them, I need them. And so
You've gone way over my head already.
Yeah, but anyway, dead stock, it means that you haven't touched them. They're in the box, untouched.
Sammy the House Ramirez joining us this morning, 31 years in Laredo radio. He's a motivational speaker as well. He's more than 2 decades in the morning. Let's talk about this. Here's I'm showing everyone your Coffee and Magic logo on 107.3. I think I know who drew the logo. Was it Sketch?
Which
you can't see it.
Oh yeah. Okay. So the one on the left. Okay. The one on the left I created.
Okay.
But the original Coffee and Magic logo was created by Carlos Ramirez Jr., aka Sketch 83. The one in the middle, the microphone with the beard and the cap, that is a Sketch 83 original. Yeah, that's a Sketch 83 original. So if you look at that one in the middle, that's Sketch 83. And then, of course, he's created some of the other Coffee Magic logos. I like to update them every once in a while. But that one on the left, I created that by myself with a little, help from graphics and stuff like that. But yeah, Sketch does most of my logos. I had other logos that I've created before for different events. And Sketch is the guy that I work with. I love Carlos and Ramirez Jr.
There's a lot of work locally.
Yeah.
As an artist.
That Tammy U logo, that side profile, that's all Sketch.
The Ramirez family, very well respected here in town. A very
Love them all.
Motivational family as well. Sam, why Coffee and Magic? And how long has it been Coffee and Magic?
7 years this year. It'll be 7 years, the 7-year anniversary. Oh man, this is another good story. There was a time that I was between jobs, right? And
as it often happens in radio.
As it often happens in radio. So I was between jobs, and this goes back to me getting up early and not sleeping in. I couldn't sleep in. On the days that I wasn't working, I couldn't sleep in, so I'd get up. And normally, they were nice cold mornings, and so not everybody knows where the magic is from, right? They understand what coffee is, but they don't know what the magic is. So every morning I would get up, even if I was not working, and I would go outside, and I'd have a cup of coffee. And this was at the time when I was smoking. I would smoke a cigarette. And one morning I was kind of just sitting there, and I was watching the coffee, and I was watching the smoke come off the coffee, or the heat come off the coffee, and the cigarette smoke. And I took a picture of it, and I just I put it online, and I just put Coffee and Magic, and it just meant like, this is me sitting down, having some coffee, and having a smoke, and the smoke was my magic. The smoke was my magic, and so I didn't want to say coffee and smoke because it just didn't sound right. It sounded ugly. So I'm like, Coffee and Magic. And so when I got the job here at 107.3, thank you to the Cuellar family, by the way. They're like, do you have a name for the show? I'm like, yes, I do. Yeah. And they're like, what's it going to be called? And I said, it's going to be called Coffee and Magic. And they're like, why? I said, just because. I didn't want to tell them because I was outside smoking cigarettes waiting for the next job, right? But I was.
But it works because now the magic is what happens on the show.
So what magic is, and this is what I've explained to everybody, that everyone has coffee and magic in the morning. Everyone needs a cup of coffee in the morning, mostly everybody. There might be a few people that don't like coffee, and that's fine. But for the most part, you have your coffee in the morning, and there's something else, whatever your routine is. Some people like to meditate. Some people like to do yoga. Some people like to go for a run. Some people like to exercise. Some people like to smoke a cigarette. Or some people just like to, something, whatever it is. So whatever it is that you're doing besides having your coffee in the morning to get you ready for the day, that's your magic. So your coffee and your magic. And when I named it that, I would hope that I would be part of your magic. Like whatever you're doing this morning, while you're drinking your coffee and having your routine, I hope you're listening to me.
More than 2 decades people have been listening to you in the morning, Sam. What next?
As most people in media, I'm hoping to win the lottery and disappear. That's what's next. I want to disappear. I want to disappear, and honestly, I know people are tired of me. As much as people are very nice to me, some people get tired. And if you're tired of me, make the donation and get rid of me. Once I have enough money to retire, trust me, you'll be rid of me.
There's a whole other group of people that doesn't want you to go.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the ones that don't want you there anymore.
Don't give him any money. He's broke. He needs the job. Let him stay.
Well, God bless you, brother.
Oh, God bless you.
And good luck on another school year is upon us, so you'll be busy motivating students.
God bless the teachers. God bless the teachers and the kids and anybody watching this right now.
All right, Sam, thanks a lot.
Hey, thanks.
Tomorrow morning on Coffee and Magic at what time?
Well, before that, let me just say that people need to get a hold of Ruben. The same way I shared some of my miracles with him this morning, I think you guys should share your miracles. Ruben's got something really cool that he's working on, and he went to go talk to me about it the other day, which is the reason I'm here today. But I want to make sure that everybody knows that the same way you enjoyed, if somebody out there enjoyed what I said this morning about, being grateful and being a good person because I was experienced brokenness and stuff like that, if you had a miracle in your life, get a hold of Ruben. I really like that. Again, there's so much negativity in the world. Ruben wants to share some positivity. If you have a miracle, get a hold of Ruben and be a part of this. It's called In Search for Miracles. In Search of Miracles, and get a hold of Ruben. That's one of the reasons. The only reason why I wanted to come here, but you bombarded me. You're a damn good journalist, and you got all this stuff out of me today. But the truth,
that was why you were coming.
Yeah, I know. But I really wanted to just come and help you promote that. Guys, if you have a miracle and you experience something, don't be shy. Ruben's a great guy. Share your miracle with him, because I think it's really cool what you're doing.
Thanks, Sam.
Every morning on 107.3.
What time do you go on?
6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
So they can watch KGNS News Today and have you on in the background.
That might be your magic.
KGNS News Today, they can go listen to the rest of Coffee and Magic.
Switch around.
7 to 8 is the best hour in radio anyway.
Listen to Ruben, or watch Ruben, listen to me, and back and forth.
Gotcha.
Back and forth. Thanks. You know, before you leave the house, you watch Ruben, then you get in the car, you listen to me, then when you get back, there you go.
Works perfectly. God bless you, brother.
God bless you.
All right, I gotta go. We got Telemundo Tu Casas coming up at 11, and then I will see you on KGNS News at noon. Thanks for watching, and have a blessed rest of your day.
Bye, everybody.